Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to today's reading, Friday afternoon. I hope you guys all had a good week. And I thought it would be, since election is right around the corner, that I would read a story about voting. So this week's story is going to be called Equality's Call, and it's the story of voting rights in America. It's written by Deborah Deason, and it's illustrated by Magdalena Mora. And this is what and I apologize for everything in reverse. I never figured out how to switch it back. But nice photos or nice illustrations showing a variety, a very good group of people from different backgrounds. All right, Equality's Call. Our founders declared when our country began that consent of the governed was part of the plan. There's the teacher and the students. Through voting, elections, and representation, the voice of the people would strengthen our nation. In fact, though, for years, this great founding ideal was extended to some, and for others, not real. So there's supposed to be the founders there. But we heard in the distance equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. The state set rules about who got to vote, and your gender, your race, and your wealth were of note. So this shows who could vote, and then these are the people who could not vote. So it looks like you have women, people of color were not allowed to vote at the beginning. White men with property went to the polls, but the rest of the people were left off the rolls. The dream of democracy wasn't yet true. There were changes to make. There was work still to do. They're all in line to vote. And these are the enslaved people that are still working very hard out in the fields. But we heard growing clear equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. The rules about wealth were the first thing to go. As more were enfranchised, their voices could grow. And a small group of voices was raising the fact that enslavement was wrong, an unspeakable act. Good people stood up for the truth that they knew. Abolition and suffrage were long overdue. And abolition refers to getting rid of slavery, and suffrage is extending the rights to vote to women. We heard even louder equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. Aha, I see what's happening. You see what's going on? There's more and more people joining. You have some Native Americans joining, women, men, people of color. There was war in our nation and slavery ended. Amendments were added, the franchise extended. The franchise meaning the right to vote. And guess which president that is? It's Abraham Lincoln. He's very known for his black tall hat. Now more men could vote, at least so the law said, yet denial through taxes and tests was widespread. And the voices of women were mostly omitted. In only some states was their voting permitted. So there's still problems. And this sign, I know it's backwards, it says votes for women. Votes for women here. And then this says, what will you do for women's suffrage? And suffrage is the right to vote. But nothing could muffle equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. And now there's a lot more people. And this says up here, give us the vote now. Let's see, look at all these people that are being added to the group. Suffragists didn't give up on the fight, and the 19th Amendment gave women the right. But voters of color still met with oppression. Their voting was hindered by brutal suppression. So the 19th Amendment to our Constitution gave women the right to vote. And so that says votes for women. And that's also votes for women. So we passed legislation to make voting fair, to extend and protect voters' rights everywhere. And there's a little timeline here. So this first part is in 1924, the Indian Citizenship Act is passed. So the natives become citizens. Down here, 1964, the Civil Rights Act passed. And then up here, 1965, Selma to Montgomery March, Voting Rights Act is passed. And then in 1970, it says First Extension of Voting Rights Act. So it just took a long time for this to happen. We heard it, we felt it. Equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. Now we got a huge group. The journey's not over, the work hasn't ended. Democracy's dream must be constantly tended. But where we are now is a debt that we owe to the work of more people than ever will know. And here's our students working on projects related to voting rights. And each time we vote, we acknowledge that past. We honor our rights to ensure they will last. For to vote is to answer equality's call. And each time we vote with them all. All right, so a couple pictures here. People on this bus. And then here's our students. It's our school bus. Well, no, never mind. Sorry, that's other people on a bus. That's not the students. It says vote, vote. And then the last one was vote with them all. And here we have a bunch of stuff. So voting is people power, vote, equality now, voter, our vote, our voice, equality now. All right, and at the end, it's got some voting-related amendments and legislation, and it goes into a little bit more detail, which I'm not going to read. It's a lot. But I definitely recommend if you want to read more. And then they also talk about voting rights activists, some real famous people that were part of the voting rights, like Susan B. Anthony, you may have heard of, W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King Jr., of course, James Madison, Mary Church Terrell, Lucy Stone. Yeah, so Equality's Call, the story of voting rights in America. We're not done. We got one more story because Halloween is coming up. So what would be a reading without something Halloween related? Ghosts, ghouls, or something like that. All right, so I'm going to read one last story. It's called Zen Ghosts. It's by John J. Muth. Look at this illustration. That's kind of cool. All right, Zen Ghosts. Michael, there's a ghost outside, said Carl. A what? Asked Michael. A big, scary-looking ghost, said Carl. Is it Stillwater? Asked Michael. It doesn't have Stillwater's face, said Carl. Oh, wait. Yes, he does. Come in, Stillwater. Hi, Stillwater, said Addie. Happy almost Halloween. We are working on our costumes. I'm going to be a moon princess. What are you going to be? So I guess Stillwater's the girl there. I'm a ghost, said Stillwater. What are you going to be? He asked Carl and Michael. I'm going to be a monster, said Carl, with a powerful heat ray and atomic breath. I will cause awesome destruction. I haven't decided what I'm going to be yet, Michael said. Either an owl or a pirate. I really like owls, and I really like pirates. Perhaps you will be an owl pirate, said Stillwater. He can't be an owl pirate, said Carl. There's no such thing as an owl pirate. He has to be one thing. He can be whatever he wants, said Addie. Look, Stillwater, do you like my costume? Oh, wait, maybe Stillwater's the panda. Yeah, she's Addie. Yes, said Stillwater. It reminds me of something. This is a very special Halloween. There's going to be a full moon, and I know someone who will tell you a ghost story. Yay, said Addie. I love ghost stories, said Michael. It's not too scary, is it? Asked Carl. After trick-or-treating, meet me by the big stone wall, and I will take you to the storyteller, said Stillwater. Oh, there's all the kids in the neighborhood with their costumes. When the children were done trick-or-treating, they waited by the stone wall. I'll trade you 3 tiny mints for 1 snookers, said Addie. The snookers. No, said Carl, I'm not going to give up my snookers. But you don't even like them, said Addie. Come on. I only like tiny mints if they are the crunchy peppermint kind, said Carl. Besides, I'm saving my snookers. I have one flavored like Bam. Boo, said Stillwater. Wow, you scared me, said Carl. How long have you been there? Follow me, said Stillwater. I'm thinking the snookers is like Snickers, like a Snickers bar. I guess. I've never gone this way before, said Michael. Me neither, said Carl. I think I have, said Addie. In a few moments, they arrived at Stillwater's house. It is very misty, said Addie. Come in, said Stillwater. They all sat facing the front of the room. Then a panda who looked exactly like Stillwater came in and sat down. Is that Stillwater? Whispered Carl. Yes. No. I don't know. Shh, whispered Michael. The panda held up a brush and said, "I'm going to draw you a story." Once, a long, long time ago, there was a young girl named Senyo. Her parents loved her very much, and they took very good care of her. She had a best friend named Ochu, whom she had known for as long as she could remember. They were together so much that Senyo's father would laugh and say, "You two are so well matched, you will probably end up marrying each other." As they grew up, they believed this would happen, and they fell in love. But when Senyo reached marrying age, her father suddenly became ill and couldn't work. He came to her one evening and told her that she was to wed a nice man named Henryo. Henryo was prosperous and could take care of the family. Now Senyo was very sad. She had always hoped she would marry her best friend Ochu. That is sad, huh? Yeah, she's very sad, Senyo. When Ochu heard about this, he decided to leave that very night. He couldn't stand to be in the same village where his beloved Senyo would be married to someone else. At midnight, with a full moon, he secretly went to the river's edge, packed his boat, and left. He didn't tell anyone, not even Senyo. As he traveled up the river, he saw a vague figure running along the bank. His heart leapt when he saw that it was Senyo, and he hurried to her side. They hugged each other tightly and decided to go off together. Senyo and Ocho journeyed to a faraway village where they married and had 2 children. They were very happy. Then one day Senyo came to Ocho in tears. She longed to be with her parents and to see her home again. Ocho felt the same way. They decided to return together and face the consequences. When they arrived at the dock, Ochu said, "Let me go first to see your father. I will apologize and find out how things are before you come in." Senyo's father was very happy to see him. Ochu told him they were sorry for what they had done and that he and Senyo were now a family with 2 children. Senyo's father was astonished. "What are you talking about?" he asked. "From the time you left the village, Senyo has been very sick in bed. She is unable to speak." Now Ochu was surprised. "But I promise you, Senyo is well, and you are a grandfather. I will bring her to you." As Ochu went to the dock, Senyo's father rushed to his daughter's bedside and told her what Ochu had said. As she heard the story, she was filled with joy. Without saying a word, she rose from her bed and went quickly down the stairs. This is an interesting turn of events. At that very moment, the Senyo who had come ashore arrived at the house with Ocho. The 2 Senyos, upon seeing each other, merged and became one. The storyteller paused, then he asked, "Which Senyo is the true one? Are they one or are they 2? I don't know. What do you guys think? 1 or 2? Addie, Michael, and Carl looked at one another. Then they turned and looked beside them. Only a mask was sitting on the cushion. They looked at Stillwater sitting in the front of the room. He was reaching into a bag of Halloween candy. "I got a bunch of Whizzles and Tiny Mints. Does anyone have some bamboo-flavored Snookers?" "I've been saving one for you," said Carl. "Thank you," said Stillwater. "Thank you," said Carl. "That was a good story." Oh, I like Carl's costume. He's dressed like a little dinosaur. Oh, that's the end of the story. Here they all are sitting. looking out. So I guess we never know. Was it one or was it two? Was one a ghost and then they came together? Let's see. There's an author's note at the end. I'll read it. The story Senyo and her soul are separated was first told to me by John Dado Roshi. It was originally written down by Master Wumen Huihei, a Chinese Buddhist monk, and appears in his collection of 48 koans called The Gateless Gate. Master Wumen's book, along with the Blue Cliff Record, which contains 100 koans, are what Zen students sometimes contemplate in their efforts for enlightenment. Senyo's name and the title of the story vary in different translations. Kinu parted from her higher soul, and Seiyu's separated soul are just two of the many other versions. Koans are basically questions you have to answer for yourself. Aha. They appeal directly to the intuitive part of human consciousness, not to the intellect. You can't think them through. You can't intellectualize them. You can, but you will miss the point. Foremost, Senyo's story is simply a great ghost story. It raises the hair on the back of my neck whenever I hear it. It is the kind of story that leaves you with more questions than it answers. Stories like that can't be neatly wrapped up and placed on a shelf and forgotten. The thoughts they raise are constantly reemerging and changing as we go through our lives. In your hands is the story I took away from hearing 3 different Zen monks tell it. Originally, I heard it from Zen master Dado Roshi, then with gratitude to Jeffrey Shugen Arnold Sensei and Conrad Rushin Marche Sensei, my understanding of the tale grew until it became Zen Ghosts. So that's a good way to do it, just combine it. It's not an abstract, historic event that happened 1,000 years ago. It's very much about you and me today. All right, Zen Ghosts. All right, so we'll be reading next Friday, right before Halloween, so I hope you all can join me then. And if you missed this, just go to my Sean Forschler Realtor on Facebook, and you can see it on my my wall. Or just go to my YouTube channel, Google Sean Forschler YouTube, and you will see it under the playlist, Children's Weekly Reading Corner. Everybody, have a great weekend, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful weather.